Last weekend, I got second place at a regional with Heatsoul Kashtira. I've been on Voiceless Voice for the past few weeks. I made the switch back to Kashtira to try a hand trap deck over a board breaker deck to better approach stuff like puppet locks and cactus bouncers, as well as having a better flu matchup. Kashtira works well as a hand trap deck since it wins hand trap wars because your monsters have such high value. I will get into the deck profile, shave a new combo, and go over some side patterns at the end. But with no further ado, enjoy! We have the standard free unicorn and free Fenrir, and we still play free Rysart for consistency. I do not play Ogre and Prep anymore because Labyrinth is a lot less popular. However, I'm not fully against playing them because they are good against Runic Stun and in the mirror match, but elsewhere I don't think they are too important. And then this card is even better than it was before because this card is very useful against one of your worst matchups, which is Voiceless Voice, since you can swing this into the Skull Guardian to make its attack points return to normal. And we have the 4 field spell and 3 prosperity to help our consistency. 3 birth because this card is insane, and I used to play 3 Theosis, now I play just 2. One of the main reasons for playing 3 before was that I played 1 copy of Desires, but I do not play that anymore. I do play a different one of consistency card though in its placement, which you will see in a moment. For the hand traps, of which I play a mighty 15, we have 3 Shifter, pretty important card, 3 Ash, 3 Mourner, 3 Veiler, and 3 Imperm. You can also play Bell as well, but I think Bell is probably the least flexible one. You can also use the last 3 tech spots to play 3 more hand traps and play 18 hand traps. But I think 18 is slightly too much because Kashtira is not consistent enough. Instead, for the last 3 spots in the deck, I play 1 Necro Valley, 1 Set Rotation, and 1 Rivalry. These cards were all very good. Set Rotation acts as an extra card for consistency, essentially making it so we go from playing 4 field spells to playing 5 field spells. Now Terraforming can search for either this or Necro Valley. On top of that, if you draw this card going second, it's actually really good into the Snake Eye board because it deals with the Temple as well. And if you go first and use this, they can't use Imperm. But generally, if I went first with Rysoff, and I also have Set Rotation, I would try to avoid playing this if possible to get to Necro Valley, because a lot of decks do main deck Fenrir, and I don't want to give them a free Fenrir. Whereas instead I can set this card and use it as an interruption to clear something like a Temple or a Fountain. And the MVP of the deck for sure was Rivalry. This card I played over a hand trap spot instead, because say for example if you draw a brick hand of 3 hand traps, let's say for example these 3, and a birth, if you play 18 hand traps, it's quite likely that the 5th card in your hand will be another hand trap, but I am quite happy with that 5th card being Rivalry. I can't play the game, but that's fine because the opponent is going to be locked under Rivalry, and you have quite a few turns in that scenario to draw into a way into Fenrir, Unicorn, or Rysart. Kashtira can also play TCG, but I think this card is much better, and the reason for that is because this card is insane going first, and also insane going second. A lot of end boards that decks make right now consist of multiple types. Onto the extra deck, we have the Shangri, Dark Armed, and Harmonizer, which I did not play much before, but I think it's actually pretty important now, since this card is good into Voiceless Voice and Snake Eye, because you can take stuff like Promethean, Flamberge, and Saphira, and Low out from their graveyard. And then Big Eye and then Flare Metal I think is still very important. I had quite a few games where I put them on very low life points and then make this and they can't really win. And then Zeus and Typhon are both pretty important, but not as important as the GOAT, which is Dracosack, which is part of our Heatsoul combo to summon our 2 tokens to then transform into 2 Link Spiders, to then Link Climb into G-Golem, Crystal Heart, to then bring back a spider, to then climb into Heatsoul. What's different from before is I don't use the Dracosack and the Scareclaw Cache to make IP or SP, but instead I just use the Heatsoul and Dracosack to make an Apollousa, which I find to be a much safer play into Nibiru. And then the 15th card is Baron, which comes up a lot because we play loads of level 3 hand trap tuners. The one thing I would want to change in this side deck would, funnily enough, actually be a third Link Spider. And the reason for this is because the most common time that you get nibbed is on the second Link Spider. So at that point, you then have a nib token, and it will be quite good to turn that nib token into a Link Spider, and then you can turn your Scarecrow Kashtira and Link Spider into an SP, and then SP can banish the nib, and then you can birth to bring back the Fenrir. And then onto the side deck, we have 2 Ghost Ogre. This card is very nice against Fluunderies and against Kashtira, which are both Shifter decks, but when they see you're playing Kashtira, they will side out of Shifter, which makes this card live. It's also good into Voiceless Voice, which is a bad matchup, especially the Board Breaker build. I do not play 3 of it though, because the side patterns work pretty fine with just 2. What I do play instead though is 1 copy of Phantasme. Even though this does put a monster on your field, so you can't summon Fenrir or Unicorn, what often happens though is that because you're hand fixing, you will quite often have a way to Rise Heart, Birth, or Scarecrow Kashtira anyway. On top of that, the Snake Eye player will probably feel quite awkward leaving this card on your field because you can just walk over the IP or the SP. This was something that I was trying because in the side patterns I wanted to take out 1 card against Snake Eye and go to 1 less engine card and put in 1 card against Snake Eye. And I wasn't that confident I wanted to put in just a Duster against Snake Eye, so I went with 1 Phantasme to have that 1 side in against Snake Eye, and it was okay. I think there definitely is still be consideration though to just go to 3 Ghost Ogre, and then I put this in against Snake Eye anyway, but because it clears the temple and any back row it might set. Or I could just put in 1 Cosmic as well, because I'm also playing 3 Cosmic, as well as 2 Storm, in addition to 3 Evenly. As you can see, I was very prepared for for the back row decks, and these cards also help a lot against Runic Stun and against Voiceless Voice as well. And for the last 3 cards in the side deck, I have 3 Judgments, which are my 3 cards for going first. I think this is better than Summon Limit or Anti-Spell because it helps you beat evenly matched, in addition just being a very good card going first. So with this we go Summon Unicorn, Unicorn Search for Birth, normal summon Rise Heart. I got a lot of comments saying, oh wait, I'm Xyz locked, I can't do Heatsoul combos. No, this only Xyz locks you if you use the effect in the hand. The effect on the field to banish from deck, like I'm going to do now, does not lock you. So if we normal summon Rise Heart and declare the effect on the field to banish, that is perfectly fine, and you will not be Xyz locked. Then we're going to overlay these 2 to make a Draco Sack and summon our 2 tokens. Then we link off our 2 tokens into 2 Link Spiders, which then become a G-Golem, which brings back a Link Spider to then Link Climb again into Heatsoul to pay 1,000 and draw a card. Next we can turn Heatsoul and Draco Sack into Apollousa. This has 2 counters, and then Birth can be used to bring back Fenrir, and then Fenrir can search for a Scarecrow Kashtira. Then we can use this to banish our Unicorn and make a Shungri, which then in the standby phase can be used to summon another Fenrir. And this one is very similar. You just go Unicorn, effect to search for Birth, activate Birth. With Birth you can normal summon Fenrir. Fenrir can then search for Rise Heart. These 2 can then make Draco Sack. You can use the effect to then detach a Fenrir, summon 2 tokens, turn them both into Link Spiders, and then you can turn both the Link Spiders into a G-Golem, which can then bring back a Link Spider, to link off these to then make a Heatsoul, which can then use the effect to pay 1,000 and draw a card. Then we can turn these into Apollousa, which will be 2 negates. It's also worth mentioning that if you would rather have 3 negates, you can skip the draw from Heatsoul and just go straight into Apollousa with G-Golem, Spider, and Draco Sack. which might actually be the preferred play if you've used Pot of Prosperity. Then at this point we have Birth to bring back Fenrir or Unicorn, then Rise Heart to summon, Rise Heart to banish to become level 7. Normally I would choose to banish a Birth here, because that means when I next use the effect of Rise Heart, if they board clear me, I can go Rise Heart, banish Theosis, and add back Birth. So then these two can then make a Shangri, and then in their turn Shangri can summon a Fenrir from deck. With side patterns, the easy one is going second against Snake Eye. I would actually keep in Rivalry because it's still very good going second. If you can just break a fraction of their board and then just set this, it's really good. So all I would do is take out one Rise Heart and put in one Phantasme. That was it. I think that one less engine card going second was like the ideal number, because you have that 6th card going second, and Phantasme can even unbrick you and find your engine anyway. Even though Rise Heart is still one of the things that lets you play when you have a monster on your board, you still have 2 more Rise Heart, you have 5 copies of the field spell, and you have free Birth, and you have the Scarecrow Kashtira. You can just normal summon a hand trap and make flow with these 2 as well, because that's very good if they set summon limit, because the Fleur would be your second summon. Going first against Snake Eye, I would just put in 3 copies of Judgments, and I would take out Imperm, the idea with this being that this then leans less hard into their Lightning Storms than their Evenlies, which a decent number of Snake Eye players were siding. Against Voiceless Voice going first, I would put in 3 Cosmics and 3 Judgments, and 2 copies of Ghost Ogre, and I would take out 3 Imperm, 3 Mourner, and 2 Veiler, which was one of the reasons why I wanted to play 3 Ghost Ogre, because if I played 3 Ogre, then I would have the option to side out of that 3rd Veiler. I did lose round 4 against Voiceless because I went first game 2, and I drew into the one of Veiler, and they had Beast Ravens in hand to negate it. Going second against Voiceless Voice though, I side in a almighty 11 cards, which was the Dusters and Storms, the Evenly Matched, the Cosmics, and the 2 Ghost Ogres. And then I would side out of the same 9, which was the Veilers, Mourners, and Imperms. And I would also side out of the Necro Valley and Set Rotation, as opposed to the one Rise Heart coming out instead, because I didn't feel like Necro Valley was doing that much against Voiceless Voice going second. But it is still decent against them, it's just not that incredible going second, because they have the trap card at that point. If I was to play that 3rd Ghost Ogre, I would also take out the one of Rise Heart as well. In the Kashtira mirror match, if I lost, I would opt to go second and put in 3 Cosmic, 3 Evenly, 2 Ogre, and the Duster and Storms. Then I would take out the Rivalry, take out the Shifters, the Necro Valley and Set Rotation, as well as the Ash Blossoms and 2 Veiler. Because in the mirror match, if you Ash them, Ash is not only not that high impact a lot of the time, it can just mean that you get extra deck ripped for Zeus, whereas if you were to Veiler them, or Mourner them, or Imperm them, then you don't have to fear the Unicorn rip, which is quite nice. You do have to fear the rip, of course, with Ghost Ogre, but I think that is worth a trade-off to remove their buff. If I was to play the 3rd Ghost Ogre over the Phantasme, then I would side out of the 3rd Veiler. Against Runic Stun, if I went first, I would side into Judgment, Duster, and Cosmic. And I would take out the Mourner, Veiler, and Rivalry. If I was to go second, I would put in the Cosmics, Duster, Storms, and Evenlies, and take out the 3 Veiler, Rivalry, this time 3 Shifter, 2 Mourner, because I felt like Mourner was a bit better than Shifter, since I could use it to hit the Hugin going second. And then the last one we will show is Branded. We're going first. I will put in 3 Judgments and takeouts 3 Veiler, because even though Imperm does lean harder into their stuff like Lightning Storm and evenly matched, Veiler they can dodge very easily by doing opening in the draw phase. Going second, I would just do Rise Heart for Duster, and that was it. There is definitely an argument to side more than this, but I was afraid of just being puppeted through hand traps. I didn't want to put in stuff like Evenly Matched and Lightning Storm, which would not be live if they give me a monster with Sanctifier. And yeah, thank you all for watching. I can see this deck being pretty good after the next set as well. Even with Tempai being a thing, I think it just has to adapt a bit. Have a perfectly balanced rest of your day, and adios.